Hi, everyone. Welcome. We'll give everyone a few minutes to join. Alrighty, well, let's get started. So welcome to this month's Virtual Owners Meetup. This session will also be recorded and shared for you to view at your convenience. We'll also be adding it to our YouTube page, so feel free to visit us there. I'm Maddie Bourgeois, the Director of Communications and the spokesperson for RVshare, and I'll be today's moderator. Today's meetup is themed around marketing. So marketing is an essential part of any business, but when you're running a business, it isn't always the top of your to-do list. So we wanted to provide some helpful insights and tips when promoting your RV rental. I'm joined by RVshare's Senior Vice President of Marketing, Martijn, who will be covering what RVshare does to help promote RV rentals to the general travel population. And then we will turn the spotlight on to Melissa Hanks, an RV owner from San Antonio. She will discuss how she markets her RV rental business. If you have any questions, please submit them to the Q&A, and we will get to some of those at the end of the webinar. So first, let's hear from Martijn. So, hey, Martijn, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Maddie. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and what your role is at RVshare?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been at RVshare for the last 4.5, closing in on 5 years, basically. And my role here is to lead the marketing organization, which is about 10 to 15 people, and supported by a wider range of agencies as well. That basically help us across PR, social media, media buying across, let's say, all the different channels that you and I use on a daily basis to consume media. It's been a great adventure so far. I joined because I really wanted to work and travel and basically bring people into the outdoors. And on the personal side, my next RV trip is to Santa Cruz in a couple months or just over a month. Probably taking or having an RV there delivered to a new campground that I haven't been to before.
Nice. That sounds awesome. Well, we're excited to have you here today. And I think this is the first time or maybe second time we've had an RVshare employee. And just to give kind of a peek behind the curtain, there are people that really work here and work really hard to make this business run. And so, of course, being a marketplace and, somewhere where people list their rentals for rent, we are essentially an advertising business in a lot of ways. So, what is the goal of RVshare to encourage RV renting, and how is RVshare marketing efforts benefiting RV owners?
Yeah, basically our goal, right, like you said, is to facilitate the process between owners and renters. We know that there's about 11 to 13 million RV owners in this country, and a lot that are, let's say, like you are on the call as well, basically don't always leverage their RV throughout the whole year, right? And that's basically what we want to help them with to earn additional income and to help facilitate the process in a secure and protected way for people basically to rent it from you. How we've been, let's say, thinking about marketing for the past years is in a few different areas, and I'll describe 3 that are most important. The first one is, let's say, initiatives like this, right, where we help you as the RV owner basically understand how RVshare works, how we work from an internal point of view. Like Maddie said, we're actual people too, but also to, let's say, help you understand the platform, right? Because a lot of questions that we already saw come in for today are about how do I just get more out of RVshare as a platform. So educating you on all the ins and outs basically of how that works is one of the core pillars basically of my team and my role here at RVshare, because in the end we can't run this business, right, without you, and vice versa, right? We hope we provide useful ways and a lot of bookings basically for your RV, or if you have your multiple RVs. Second area that we're really focused on the high level is basically reaching consumers, or let's say in general, right, the average American that is wanting to go outdoors, and that has already a very specific intent of wanting to reach that wants to, let's say, go on a true RV trip already. Like that is obviously like a group of consumers that we consider them that has a high intent. So we know through a lot of the different marketing channels that we have to our availability, like on the online side, for more offline means, because they're giving us signals, like they're searching for RV rental Houston or RV rental San Francisco that I'm near to. In that way, like we can advertise them across different advertising platforms. Like you're obviously familiar probably with the Googles, Facebooks, but there's a lot more than them to that as well. And that's what we're basically like working on a day-to-day basis, is to reach that very specific group of people that have a specific intent. Moving into, let's say, the third, and for today, let's say, I would say like the last pillar is like this other group that isn't as familiar yet with RV rentals. And let's say this is one of the core things I think that we're still facing as an RV rental industry as well, is that like people tend to think that you always need to buy an RV. And we've seen that over, let's say, the past decades in a lot of different industries. Like we work with a lot of people that have worked on vacation rental companies before, for example. And what you see in this space, right, is that like explaining the concept of an RV rental is incredibly simple, but getting people familiar with the fact that RV rentals are a thing in itself and that they could rent, let's say, from their neighbor or somebody in their neighborhood or in their area or in the area of their destination, either that being a campground near a national, state, or local park, basically. That is something that we're going after as well. And that's basically like the long-term job of what we're trying to accomplish here, is like get more people into the outdoors and have them do that while using an RV, basically, from hopefully one of the owners that is on the call.
Awesome. So a lot of the owners that are on the call and usually joining to tune in and learn more are, maybe newer to listing on RVshare or have been around for a year or two. So what are some of the things looking back that the RVshare marketing team has put forth, and what are some of the marketing efforts that maybe some of our owners might have noticed, but you could give a little bit more detail into?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of what we do, let's say, is the regular things that we're focused on day to day that I just mentioned as well, is like search engine marketing, like basically advertising on keywords related to RV rentals. Like we do that across a variety of platforms and obviously including the most important search engines out there. Then it is also going after the social channels like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, basically like having a presence there and advertising RV rentals in general, but often also, let's say, very specific RV rentals near somebody's location. Like the sooner we have an insight into where somebody wants to rent, the easier it is for us to basically, let's say, promote specific RVs of, let's say, maybe the people that are on this call. So that's what we're doing a lot, sort of like proactively. A little bit more, or sorry, reactively. Proactively, we're basically like also going after that bigger audience that I just talked about that isn't aware of what they essentially like wanna rent yet. And last year we had the opportunity to launch our first ever commercial TV campaign, basically, by launching the Use Your Outside Voice initiative. And what we're focused on there is basically like giving people the experience of enjoying the outdoors, using obviously their outside voice while doing that, and not being constrained by any rules, basically, to do so. And that was a big initiative for us to basically like get more people familiar with that. How that works on a technical level, right, is that like we work with creative people and basically like shot the actual commercial in Utah last year to basically like promote that, also with the help of some of the RV owners in that specific region. They were very generous and helpful in actually shooting that commercial, because like we want to work with all of you to basically like promote RV rentals, either let's say in your area or nationwide across the US. So that was like one big example as well. Like what we're always focused on as well, which is actually, funnily enough, a big part of Maddie's day-to-day job, is driving sort of, let's say, the media narrative around outdoor travel and, let's say, anything that goes around. Like you probably could have been living under a rock if you didn't notice, right, that there was a lot of chatter in the last year about raising gas prices. And obviously we probably all noticed that when we filled up our car or RV in the past year. That was let's say, a big media topic in itself, but funnily enough, didn't have much of an impact on how we saw RV travel. It's like the average trip only got more expensive by like $20 to $30 because we don't see most people travel very far. So making sure that the media and basically, let's say you as a consumer of that media also picked up on that type of coverage was something that was really important for us to also tell that side of the story. Because a lot of people were potentially scared about raising gas prices where that wasn't of much of an impact in their financial situation or financial consideration of their actual trip, basically. The last area that we've been focused on more and more is, let's say, the combination of focusing on specific regions or destinations in combination with seasonality. Like, it's a lot harder probably at this moment. Well, it's also almost snowing out here where I live today, which is quite exceptional. But right now, right, like probably a state like Minnesota, where it's a lot colder, or other states, right, where it's colder, it's a lot harder to rent an RV there right now, right? Like the RV might not be perfectly suitable for it. And there's just a lot less people, let's say, compared to Florida right now, that would want to, let's say, travel to Minnesota. So that's how I also like try to address where we focus our efforts. In a lot of ways, we basically like just follow where we see consumer demand at the same time. And that's how we basically like try to also like advertise in certain regions more actively in certain periods of the year, so that we can follow that specific customer and also put our efforts behind that for all of you. Yeah, I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. And then, so looking forward, what can we expect from the marketing efforts coming up this year and heading into busy season, which is summer and right around the corner?
Yes, yeah, it's definitely right around the corner. So we're very busy with a lot of different initiatives for this year. A lot of the stuff that we've always focused on here to drive our marketing strategy is creating content for users, like about the specific ins and outs sometimes of how an RV works, or how they basically like get accustomed to driving or renting a specific RV, but primarily about destinations. Like, we know that a lot of the people already have a certain feeling of where they want to go in the world. And specifically, like, that could be in their own backyard, but it could also be a lot further. So as an example, like if they want to go to Yosemite National Park, or let's say to Yellowstone, we try to provide as much content already around these types of destinations. That's what we've put in a lot of effort over the last years, but especially like in the last months already. And until summer, that's like what we'll focus on a lot of our efforts. This will basically like help expose us to that audience that is already looking to go into these areas, but they might not know yet what means they will leverage to go to that actual destination. They could still be going with a tent, or they could basically like potentially be renting an RV, which is obviously all that we care about today. So that's a big effort that we're focused on right now. Also, like literally today as we speak, we're working on improving the Use Your Outside Voice campaign. We're basically like making it more targeted towards like the specific audience that already knows that it wants to rent. And like advertising that they can rent the specific RVs through RVshare. That's what we'll be more focused on this year than in the years before. And those are some of the clear examples that I could basically like share today of what we're going after for the next foreseeable months, because summer is coming up soon.
Great. Thanks, Martijn. And so going into, from your perspective, what can RV owners do to really help promote RV rentals and their own listing, kind of to make all of our efforts join together so that we're all kind of marching in the same direction?
Yeah. So what we see in a lot of ways, right, is that you are always looking for more opportunities, obviously, like to rent out your RV if you're willing to go, let's say, all in on renting your vehicle. And that's what we're here for, to help as well. So like we try to provide as many resources as possible to truly do that on RVshare, but we're not always able, right, to, let's say, truly understand, let's say, the specific dynamics of your local community or the area that you live in. And you can do a much better, let's say, job at that than we can ourselves, because you know the characteristics, right, like of your community. And often how we see people reach those communities is through social channels, right, like Facebook. A lot of you, let's say, have Facebook pages already, or have a way to, let's say, advertise their RV already, like on the local Facebook marketplace, or through, let's say, other means that are very similar to that. Like what we will try to provide there is basically like an opportunity to, let's say, leverage your listing on our RVshare to basically, let's say, promote all the details of it and make it easier to book that whole experience. And for example, like keep your calendar of availability like up to date for that. So let's say leveraging your RVshare listing across different social media is always very useful for basically like you as the owner to get more rentals in, as well as to, let's say, spread the love of RV rentals in general. Another example of that is like if you're truly already running a local business and you're, let's say, professionalized, you're running, let's say, your RV rentals through like a business, you could list through things like Google My Business, where if you would, let's say, search for a local RV rental in your area, it would potentially show up on the first page of Google search results. Like leveraging that. And for example, like leveraging your URL on RVshare, like as your listing URL, is an easy step for you to, let's say, not have to create a full website, but still, let's say, leverage the listing on RVshare, like as a potential opportunity to link to. What we're also always open to, and I'll stop there, is basically, let's say, that community contact, or let's say the region that you already are more familiar with. Like we're always wanting to help and support local initiatives, either that, let's say, be in the middle of the Dakotas, the Carolinas. It basically like doesn't really matter for us, because across all the different states, like we see a lot of demand for RV rentals. And what we're trying to do there is basically like help support you as a local owner in that area with different types of promotions that we could be helping out there. That could be, let's say, with the local newspaper. It could be with the school that your kids go to, where we could, let's say, help with leveraging donations, which we've done in the past. Getting that insight from you, like, is really important to help us as well, basically like grow everybody's business here. Because in a lot of ways, like you're not competing with each other, honestly, that much. So getting that input through, let's say, things like today, or just, let's say, reaching out to us to see if we can support local things is really important. The last thing that we see a lot, and I said I was only going to mention 3 things, I think, but let me add 4 really quick, is a lot of owners have asked us as well to, hey, can I promote my RV for rental by putting something on my RV? It either, let's say, being a bumper sticker or a different decal on the RV. This is something that we're looking into. Because a lot of you have, let's say, different wishes there. Like some RVs, right, are also a lot bigger than others. So it depends a little bit on the dimensions. Different areas have slightly different regulations in terms of how much you can, for example, do that as well. Reach out to us if you have ideas, want us to, let's say, help out with either designing it or getting it arranged as well. That one's a little harder for us to scale, basically, because there are so many different demands and requests that we're seeing from owners in general. But it's one that we're happy to support, basically, on our end. And I'll leave it at those 4.
Okay, thanks. That was helpful. So we kind of had teased that we'll have a little promotion running for the audience here today. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we hear a lot from the people that want to rent an RV is that, like, they want to get a really good sense of the RV itself. And obviously, right, like this is not like, let's say, a dealership, right, where you can just walk in, see a lot of the different RVs and experience them. I would say it's even better than that, because you get to truly experience them by renting them and getting a better sense of what that will look like, basically. A lot of what that does, right, is basically like create the need for really good photography of your RV. I am not a professional photographer, right? Like, and my car right now, for example, is pretty dirty, and I'll blame my 2-year-old for that primarily. So let's say shooting pictures of let's say my vehicle in general, right? Like it wouldn't have a great outcome. So what we're trying to basically like help facilitate, and that's the special thing that we already like hinted at, is that we want to basically like help you get better picture quality and send better pictures that you can leverage yourself as well. For your RV listing on RVshare, but also, let's say, if you have other purposes for it, feel free to leverage it for that. So we'll be giving away 5, or let's say at least 5, and if I'm feeling generous the rest of the day, we might increase that number to potentially like more RV owners, based on like professional quality photos of your RV by sending like a photographer your way. to basically like help you take good pictures. You can then leverage those in your RV listing, as well as in other places that you might want to advertise your RV on, or let's say to share with your family if you're obviously proud of your RV. We posted the link in the chat where you can sign up for all of this. And then we'll pick basically at least the 5 lucky winners soon to get that free session. This is a way for us to see as well, like how many people are potentially interested to do something like this, because we're probably looking to scale out this program to even more people and to more RV owners in the near future.
Great, that's awesome. So like I said, and added that link to the chat. If you can't find it, it is pages.rvshare.com/photobeta. And we will also be sending that out in an email after this session. So hopefully there'll be multiple ways that you can click on that link and find us. So yeah, please sign up if that interests you at all. So thanks, Martijn. We'll bring you back at the end for Q&A. But first, I'd like everyone to meet Melissa Hanks. She is an RV owner in San Antonio. So Melissa, if you want to jump on and join us, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your RV business?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started listing on RVshare this May of 2022. We actually first started out, me and my family, my husband and my daughter, we were renters on RVshare. We actually were planning a trip. We lived in Alaska. My husband's Air Force, so we travel a lot. So we were stationed up in Alaska, and we had a group of friends who wanted to go out camping because the summers there are just beautiful. And all we had was a tent. And to be honest, I didn't want to tent camp, especially in an area where the bears kind of outnumber people. So that did not seem fun to me. So I literally just Googled RV rentals, and the first thing to pop up was RVshare. And we didn't even know it was a thing. This was a few years ago, and it just started that way. And we used it about 3 or 4 times in Alaska. And then kind of fast forward to now, we're here in San Antonio. And we ended up buying we have a Winnebago 2019 Winnebago Class C. So we bought that and drove it down here from a family's area in California where we're staying. And then I was like, I want to get it listed. Like, I want to be able to allow people who don't own one or may potentially want to own one like we did, and be able to take their family, because we're big campers, but we like to do it with comfort. So we brought up RVshare.com. We were a little intimidated at first. We're not a business owner by any means. So I will say that as soon as we hopped on, we were like, I don't know where to start. Like, I don't know what to do. So we clicked on, become an RV renter as an owner. And I don't think that was the button, but it was something similar to that. So it was rent your RV, and it was super easy. I'm not computer savvy at all, and it was very user friendly. And then I will say the first thing we did before we listed it is we typed in our area and put to see kind of what the pricing was for the type of RV that we have, because we were like, I don't know what to list it at. And then, of course, once we put in our information, RVshare also gives you kind of a guideline as to where maybe you want to price your RV as well. So that was super friendly and helpful to us. And so, yeah, we set it up back in May, and we were booked pretty much all summer long. I think it has a lot to do with the area. We have great weather here, so we were just getting people, contacting us one after another. We set it up on Instant Book, so I thought that was really helpful. And then we were able to pretty much offset all of our payments. We do have a loan on it, and we have not made one payment since May. So to us, that's a huge thing. And then we've been able to block it off anytime we wanted to rent it, or anytime we wanted to use it, we just block off the times. So we plan it ahead of time, and we get the best of both worlds, I would say.
That's awesome to hear, Melissa, and so glad that you're finding success renting out your RV. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to the story that you have. I think a lot of people find us in a similar way. And we connected with you through social media. So I wanted to bring you on to just talk about how you're promoting your RV on other platforms. But first, let's focus on your listing on RVshare.com. So what is it important when using RVshare as a marketing tool? Like, what are some things you're thinking about when you did list your RV, from, your listing to photos, descriptions, etc.?
Yeah, so I would say the first thing we focused on, like I said, when we started listing it, is we looked at pricing, how it would benefit us, as well as still stay within budget, so that people could rent it out. And I would say one of the other things we focused on was really important was pictures, as that was talked about as well. I'm no photographer, and I don't own a professional camera, but after going through a few pictures, I know that lighting was a good thing. If on ours, we set up our RV with what was it, like bedding and blankets and pillows, and then the dinette set area, we put things on there so that it would come off as something that you could see yourself renting and utilizing. So I would say those are the two things that we used, that we focused on when listing on RVshare.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think staging the RV is important, just so people can picture themselves in the RV and what the experience will be. I also think a good tip is, when you're a renter and going through the listings, and you probably had this experience when you guys first rented, a lot of the RVs tend to look the same. So it also makes your listing stand out a bit more when there's maybe a pop of color, or it just seems really welcoming and inviting and is a little bit different than the other ones they're looking at. So that's definitely a great tip. Yeah. And, I think another thing too is, we had mentioned this in our prep call, but there is a way to include video on a listing. And we had talked about that as a great asset of something to do, a walkthrough video, or even some videos to show people how to use your RV. So you can find that on our help page of how to add video. And so video is such a strong tool, marketing tool across a lot of different marketing channels. So there is ability to do that, which is important to note. So what are some other things that you do to promote your RV rental, maybe off the RVshare platform?
Yeah, so what we've done that noticed really helps is social media. I am pretty well versed in that. I post on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I've learned a lot about that platform in the last few years. So I started personally making videos and compilations and kind of putting them together. I've also done a Facebook Live where I walked through my rig and put the link up on there through Facebook. And then we put on Instagram stories, we'll put a video or kind of talking through, like, we're about to deliver the RV, or here's kind of where we're at today with the RV. And then you can put a link to your site, or to the RVshare site, so that people can rent it if that's something they're interested in doing. And then, so I would say our biggest marketing off RVshare is social media. You don't have to be super well versed in it, really just posting a few pictures and a link so that your friends and family can see what you're doing. A lot of them didn't know that we were doing this. So I would say a big help was people, like, word of mouth. Our friends would refer us and say, hey, our family's in this area, we heard you're going out there. Here's their link to their site if you're interested in checking out their RV. And then one big thing that actually has been working very well now that the weather's getting nicer here is we have I made a bumper sticker with a QR code. I printed it off of, a site. Wasn't very much, a couple dollars maybe for the bumper sticker. And we just put that on the back of our car that we drive every day. And then also we have a small one on the camper itself. So that way when it's on the road, people can, take your phone and just put it up there and it sends them right to the RVshare link site. So those are some good ways that that we've marketed it off the site. So
Yeah, I love that. I want to talk about both those things. So first, for the social media part of it, so you said that, do you post it on your personal pages, or have you started like an RV specific page for your RV rental?
yeah, actually, that's a good question. I didn't start my own page, but my personal page is public, so it does get shared. But at the same time, I've also joined a lot of groups on Facebook. And then any like RV, we're looking for an RV renter, or just type in whatever in the search bar that talks about renting an RV. And there's tons of groups out there that you can join and promote your link there. So that's very helpful too. And that gets around a lot to different people that are looking to rent.
Yeah, I think posting it on your own social pages is less intimidating than feeling like you have to curate this whole brand for your own rental. So those are great tips, and I appreciate you sharing those with us. And then for the QR code, I think that's a great call out and pretty easy and low cost to start promoting. I've actually also seen people taking like maybe a smaller card or business card with that same information and passing it out at campgrounds if people come up and ask you questions about your rental, and so you kind of have that to hand out. And then another tip that I was kind of thinking about beforehand is also making relationships with local park owners or local business owners that maybe would lend to rentals. So, we get told that at campgrounds, a lot of people call in and ask, how can I rent and rig to stay at your place? I don't own one. And the campgrounds are great about recommendations. And that's an awesome way to also kind of have people out there marketing your RV listing.
Yeah, I will say it's funny that you brought that up, because just yesterday I was at a car wash and the lady walked up and saw my QR code on the back of my personal vehicle, and she just happened to own an RV park not too far from where we're at. So we kind of networked, and on the RVshare site, I haven't been able to update it yet, but you can actually list on there like local areas that are close. So that like if you wanted to deliver to the RV park, you could put like how many miles to deliver to so-and-so's RV park. So I told her we could work something out and I could do that. And in return, anybody who rents and we deliver to there, or they want to drive to her park, she can offer them kind of a discounted rate. She could offer them a discounted rate because I'm advertising her RV park on my page. So it kind of works the way out, and that's exactly right. I plan on doing the same thing, as maybe getting a business card and passing it out to the local RV parks around here. So definitely talking with people and getting together and networking is huge.
Yeah, certainly. There's also a lot of, when you're saying Facebook groups and different associations and things like that, you'll actually be surprised how many like camping and campground and RVing associations there are even in your local area. And I know a lot of those do meetups and do conversations like this. So expanding your viewpoint outside of just RVshare or the RV world is helpful, because we're all just trying to encourage people to take a trip and travel in the outdoors. And so it's kind of helpful for everyone if we do things like that.
Definitely, yeah.
And then last question for you, just how do you obtain, if you do, any repeat customers? You see a lot of people coming back, and what do you do that might be special for them?
Yeah, so we have had 3 people that have re-rented our RV already. And I will say this, the one thing I do is when they contact us on RVshare and they ask us, pricing or they do an instant booking, I will automatically have a reply back and thank them, because they could have really, I would say biggest thing is communication and staying on top of your inbox when it comes in. And you can set that up so that it pings my phone, because I'm not, you have so many apps on your phone that I'm not constantly watching my inboxes on the renter site, but it sends you a text message notification. And so I instantly speak with them. So that way I don't lose out on the renter. And I also work a full-time job. So I know that was our biggest thing, was how are we going to manage this and work a full-time job at the same time? But we are able to pick up and drop off and meet on our time. So, and it's listed so that there's no miscommunication there. So I would definitely say, that is a big thing for, getting it out there. What was I'm sorry. I lost sight of the whole question again.
Yeah, no, just repeat customers.
Oh, repeat customers.
Yeah, I think another thing, your communication, lines of communication, follow up, and then even going as far as asking them about if they're celebrating something, an event, an anniversary. You had mentioned that you do sometimes go the extra mile to do something special for them.
Yeah. So the response when they say that we're renting it or we're interested in renting, I'll ask them, like you had brought up, if it's a special occasion, if it's an anniversary, or if you're going out for a birthday. And a couple of our guests, we've just put together like a little gift basket. There was their first time family taking it out with their kids, their kids' first camping trip. So I just got a very inexpensive little basket that didn't cost me very much, with some s'mores, some items to make s'mores. And they were so excited about that. And then another couple had an anniversary, and we left them a little gift with like cheese and crackers. And it just made, those are the two that actually re-rented with us. So I think just going that extra step that they were not expecting really gave them like a sense of being, important to us, and allowing us to let them enjoy our camper. So I think that was a huge thing in helping and getting people to return, just treating them just a little extra special, nothing that costs too much coming out of pocket. It makes all the difference.
Great. Well, those are great tips. Thanks, Melissa. So we'll now jump into the Q&A portion. We have lots of questions for both Martijn and Melissa. So let's get started. So Melissa, there were a lot of people that loved the QR code idea. So if we could just go back to that really quick. So Charles wants to know, like, what does your bumper stick look like and where does it exactly link to? I'm guessing your RV listing on RVshare, but maybe you could just give a quick overview of what you put on that bumper sticker.
Yeah, so it does link back to the RVshare site, our link. And if you just kind of Google, I know it's you don't have to be savvy at all. Again, you just kind of Google QR codes. It'll tell you just put in the link and it'll generate a QR code. You take that QR code, and we did our sticker on Amazon. We just did a custom bumper sticker. It was a couple dollars. I wish I had an extra one so I could show, but ours is it's bright. It's a bright color. So when people are sitting behind us in traffic or our cars parked in the driveway, I've seen people stop in front of our house, take a picture. So I would say colorful, make the QR code pretty big so that way they can zoom their phone in. And then we did learn a lesson with that one. The first one I had, it said RV for rent. So then I was getting a lot of messages where people wanted to rent it long-term. So I went back and put RV vacation rental and then click, and then it said scan me on the bottom of the QR code. So just something simple, because if someone's at a stoplight, they don't have time to read anything long. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of goes along with us talking about making relationships with local parks, but Martijn, I think this one was submitted when we were chatting, and they were curious if RVshare has partnered or done any relationships with state or national parks.
Yeah, so we've been in touch over the years with a lot of those. let's say the slight problem that we discovered with them is that, let's say, while they all operate right like under the same umbrella, like on the federal level, basically, like either a national park, right, or a state park, they're often individually managed, or let's say in a little bit sometimes of groups if they're near each other. That makes it quite hard for us to, let's say, work and let's say support you all, obviously, like as RV owners, for, let's say, delivery to their specific campgrounds or to the specific parks. We're working on bigger things there to basically like make this a lot easier, because we see, and you probably will see as well, right, is that like they're very popular destinations for people to go to. So let's say that is the more operational piece of it. We've already tied us to, let's say, a lot of the specific content around them as a destination as well. So earlier, right, like I was talking about the creation of content around specific destinations, because we see that national and state parks are more or less at the top of the list for most people. We have already created a lot of the content there, and we'll be working basically like with the team to keep on improving that, and let's say learn from our travelers, but also from you as owners, like what the hotspots are, for example, in these parks.
Great, thanks. And I think, Martijn, we could also mention about like the campground partnership program.
Yes. Yeah. So where this ties into our campground partnership program that we launched last year is that we're working more and more closely with individual campgrounds, basically, and either them being in a national park or, let's say, very close to them, is like, we obviously know, right, that like the RV rental itself like still needs to be parked somewhere, right, at the end of the day. And often, like we see with our travelers, and from hearing this from you as well, right, is that like that's at the local campground near you. And how we're working with these campgrounds basically is like, whenever a person is booking a specific campsite, either, let's say, on the campground's website or one of the many portals that are out there these days, we'll help facilitate the process basically like of also booking a rental for that specific campground while they're already in that booking experience, basically. In return to these campgrounds, basically, like we're also helping to do the opposite. So we see a lot of people, right, like they're wanting to book the RV at the same time as the campground on our end. So we're facilitating that process more and more with the individual campgrounds. All basically like to make the booking experience for that consumer and their whole trip, not just the RV rental piece, basically, a lot more seamless heading into the future. And that's what we're working on hard to expand as well, to cover the thousands of campgrounds across the US in the next year or two.
Great. So next question is, with regards to some of the marketing campaigns that RVshare is running, how do we as owners promote these campaigns while ultimately gaining more exposure to our RVs?
Yeah. So what we always encourage, right, and would love to see is like people sharing the campaigns, right, that we come up with and we put out in the world, because like I think what we try to focus on with them, right, is like having more people be interested in RV travel in general and enjoying the outdoors. Like that's obviously what truly the mission is, to make that all a lot easier. How that basically like helps support you as a local owner as well, right? Is it like, if you get to advertise that as well to your local community, there's probably a lot of people in that community, right, that, like I said earlier, aren't as familiar with the concept of rentals as you and I might be. And where you then come in with your specific RV, right, is it like, once we, let's say, hopefully have convinced them to take an RV trip, it's like your RVs will show up near the top locations, right, that they're wanting to go to, basically. So I think that's where it really creates like the win-win for both the RV owner as well as the consumer, right? Like seeing that that specific commercial through us, hopefully.
Great. Okay. Which social media channels get the most engagement with the RVshare audience?
I am by no means a social media expert, so I might defer part of this to Melissa, because I think she's more of an expert on this than I am. Although my wife will tell you that I spend way too much time on them. But basically, like the more visual channels, right, like Facebook and Instagram, are still very much at the top of that list, right? And it has a lot to do with, obviously, like the just adoption rate of consumers is still going on them. We see a lot more of the younger generations move towards some of the TikTok and let's say short format video apps, basically, like that are out there these days. But happily defer the question to.
Yeah, which platforms do you use, Melissa, and which ones do you see some engagement on?
I agree with what he said. I am a big TikTok buff, but at the same time, I've taken those ideas and those trends from TikTok, and it generates really well over to Facebook, where I would say obviously a lot of RV renters audience demographics is, from what I've seen. I'm not a huge expert, but you can also, if you have a Facebook page, you can do reels now, and that reel, whether you're you can put the settings on there. So if your Facebook page is private, you can make it so that just your reels are public, so you can just get those reels out there and showcase, and then put in the comments, you can put your link to your RVshare site. So I would say just do videos, and you don't have to do anything expert, just kind of show people your RV on the inside, because that right now in any platform tends to get picked up faster than say pictures. Same thing with Instagram. Just do a quick video. You could talk in it. You don't have to download any music or anything, or upload music if you're not comfortable with that. But just giving people that visual of a video really, I think, really helped us a lot.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Martijn, this one, somebody definitely knows what they're talking about with regards to SEO, which tags or attention getters displayed in the description have resulted in a higher yield of renters. So I'm not sure if they're asking exactly in their personal listing description, but maybe you can help decipher what their question might be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I talked about some of these aspects already before, right? Is like, let's say tags or attention getters are, for example, those popular destinations around you. You have a specific section for that, right? So let's say leave your recommended destinations basically like near you, but let's say somebody is often already aware of where they want to go, right, in your area, and then is looking for the RV that is, let's say, closest to them, or let's say matches obviously the criteria of the RV that they're looking for. So let's say leveraging, let's say, the names of state parks, national parks, or whatever specific destinations, right? Like might be near you. It could also be a campground, right? Another angle, a lot more seasonal, obviously, is events, like at either being an air show or a music festival, right? That you might be near to, like, is often like a good thing to include in your specific description of the RV, because especially slightly pre-pandemic or post-pandemic, right? Like we're seeing a lot of these festivals and let's say events be back basically like in action again. And they trigger a lot of additional RV rentals like over the past, let's say, year and a half again. So those are important. Listing just as much information about the RV itself and the different additional amenities that you might be able to provide, like in the description itself, as well as, let's say, the specific section that you have for that. Those are important keywords to include as well, because like those are often the search terms that we see that renter look for, basically. So those were, let's say, the top ones that I would focus on. But in general, let's say, and a lot of other questions that I saw fly by during this as well have been, let's say, focused around listing quality. Let's say making really sure that your listing is up to date and has, let's say, really good descriptions for people to understand what they're trying to rent. Outside of, let's say, the very specifics of the RV, is what really like drives additional rentals.
Great. And then we have a question about like regions, and just from our broader standpoint, as RVshare employees, are there some regions expected to do better than others this upcoming year? And what regions do we market most?
Yes, that is an excellent question. So part of my answer is going to tie to events, basically. Like what we see there is that, let's say, partially also like post-pandemic, like more and more people experience throughout the pandemic, basically like RV rentals, because, right, like we couldn't go outside in many cases, but people did tend to move towards like RV trips, basically, during that whole period. Funnily enough, that has also made events aware of that, and ranging from air shows to multiple day festivals, right? Like the campgrounds at most of these festivals are a lot bigger. So if you're near, or let's say in the proximity sometimes even of a couple 100 miles, like of a bigger event, like make sure that that's clear to the renter as well, that like they could potentially like go there. And those are sometimes the regions that, let's say, might do better even, let's say, going forward compared to, let's say, some of the more traditional years that we've had in the past, because they're just being boosted by bigger availability of campground spots at these events, which is something that was a pretty dramatic shift, basically, like as part of the pandemic. We tend to slightly focus more, and I talked about this a little bit earlier as well, like on, let's say, the regions at this moment that are truly, let's say, being popular. Often that is weather focused, right? Because like most people want to, let's say, enjoy a vacation or a trip in a warm weather area, basically. So that's what we try to follow as well. Let's say that isn't on a day-to-day basis. It's not, let's say, today, and I'm in the Bay Area in California, where it's a little cloudy, kind of rainy. It's like, that's not where we're not going to focus then today, but it's more about, let's say, the long-term view on all of that. In general, let's say nationwide, we expect that, let's say, RV rentals are significantly up from last year, basically, again, just because popularity is still on the rise for rentals and just for RVing and going outdoors in general. So I wouldn't, let's say, pick specific areas where it's like, hey, California is going to do much better than Florida this year, or even more specific on a city level. Because we just see in general that popularity is up a lot year over year.
Great. This one, I'll see, Melissa, if you have an answer for us, but somebody asked how to get customers to rent for more than 2 days, and if you have any advice on maybe trying to hook those renters that are looking for a longer stay.
Yeah, for us, we do like a 2-day minimum to try and get them to rent longer. I would say you can offer, you're in control of setting like a discount on the site. So maybe if they want to do like a 7-day package, you can give them some sort of percentage off discount. That way they can retain kind of for a longer rental, and it would be a lower cost to them. So that's something that is an option. We do that. We do, if they do like a 14-day, which 2-week rental, we give them a discount on that. Also, for people that want to return, we also offer them kind of a special price as well for just, choosing us to come back to us again. So yeah, I would probably say maybe a discount would help. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Martijn, we were asked, is there an API that can be built into a separate website that contains the RVshare site so someone can book via RVshare directly on a third-party website?
To a certain extent. So for, let's say, people that don't know what an API is, it's basically like an application programming interface, which, let's say, in regular day-to-day user terms, basically means that, like, say, the data that's living in RVshare, how do you get to show the same data on, let's say, somebody else's website or somebody else's system, basically? What we're trying to support more and more, and we recently launched this with a campground booking website called CampSpot, and we're rolling this out with some of these others, is having the ability to connect the RV rental to them already booking the specific campground. That works through an API, basically. What is a lot harder to do is to do that basically like on a, let's say, smaller scale for just, let's say, one specific RV on a one specific website. What that has a lot to do with, honestly, is a lot of, let's say, the over regulations as well as the payments that are flowing through. Like, it is a lot harder on the technology side to support that in one-to-one use cases. Let's say you need a lot more volume for that to basically like make sense to run that, honestly, also like through an API. It's a lot more of a technical discussion at length, but that's where I'll leave it at. But we're working hard to basically like help support that across other areas already of the whole experience of booking their outdoors trip.
Great. Well, to wrap up this webinar, I figured probably the most important part to market your RV is that listing. So if you guys could give just one more tip of how to make sure that your listing is going to stand out and really get these RV owners some bookings in the upcoming busy season, what would your tip be?
I'll let you go first, Melissa.
I would say, again, we kind of went over that, but number one would be your pictures. Second would definitely be pricing, depending on where you're listing it at. It can be pretty competitive. So maybe just stay just slightly under your competitors until you kind of get, one thing I forgot to mention was getting those reviews. I will notice that we had an uptick in renters once we started finally getting like 1, 2, 3, and I think we have like 7 reviews now. That speaks for itself. It's huge. So I would definitely say once they rent so definitely price, pictures, and get some reviews in. Those are, I would say, the top 3. What we do is after they rent it, we give them like 24 hours. We send them a little message and say, hope you had a great time. When you get a chance, just leave us a quick review because it would mean so much to us. We definitely want to hear how your trip went. So I would say those are the top 3.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to cheat and give more than 1. So Melissa already mentioned pictures, right? And this is obviously what I talked about earlier, is like really high quality pictures and just give people a real sense, right? Like on what your RV looks like and what they're getting themselves into, basically. So I would say like almost from the top of the listing down, right? Like start there regardless, because it's one of the first things they will see, right? Second one that I'll mention that is slightly different as well is like amenities. Like people have certain expectations, right? But often you can improve the experience. Melissa talked about a couple examples earlier, right? Like of providing something small. It doesn't always have to be something like this, but we see a lot of people also like have things already around their RV, right? That they're totally willing to help give out as part of the rental as well. Like those are huge upsides. Like the last time I rented an RV, like it came with a lot of additional things. We didn't use all of it, but it was great to at least have it as part of the actual RV rental experience. So I'll add that as well. And let's say slightly adjacent to that one as well is like people have certain expectations. And I think sometimes those are good ones. Sometimes they're slightly bad ones, right, to have. But let's say when you and I go to a hotel, right, we don't expect always to have to pay for linen separately, right? It is like those, let's say, fundamental basics of, let's say, hospitality, like certainly like need to be included or at least clear on how it's being charged for. And a lot of that is up to you as an owner, right? I'm not saying how you should do it, but let's say making sure that the basics of that are truly clear is something that is really important about basically like making a perfect listing out of all of that. And talking about the SEO points from earlier, right, is like, don't forget about like what the popular destinations are around you so that people are also like inspired to go somewhere that you think they should go to, honestly, because you probably know your area better than I do.
Yep, great. The last thing I'll add, just something we didn't mention, was just how important that title can be too of your listing and how you label your RV. I think we've touched on this throughout, but make your listing stand out. I know a lot of people do it by naming their RV, and that is really helpful for the person looking and shopping and wanting to book is, oh, I remember that RV because of the name. And, maybe call out a few other special things that your RV provides. So I think that's a good tip too. But thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Martijn, for joining us today. This has been a super helpful session. This session has been recorded, so give us a few hours and we'll put it up on YouTube and send you all that link so that you can watch it at your convenience. And we'll hope to see you again in the future. Thanks so much.